Hey,
Hi, how are you?
can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I couldn't hear you at first, but now it seems fine.
Okay. How are
You're good.
you? Yeah,
I'm good. How are you doing? How's everything on your end?
I'm pretty good. I'm actually super nervous. Um,
It's Don't worry, it's gonna go by really, really quickly. It's gonna be fine. Don't worry. And you saw the questions before. It's gonna be the same thing. Maybe I'll add in like one or two, but it's like just based off of what you're saying. So you'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
okay, perfect. But otherwise, everything's good.
Perfect. Love that. Okay, so basically, like I mentioned, Career Talks is just to help people basically discover maybe new career options, open up their mind. So if they're in a career already, but they're looking to change and maybe they're interested in copywriting, you're going to give them some information about the field if they want to pursue that, or people that are like graduating high school or college, university, they don't really know what they should study. Um, they don't know what they want to do, and then hopefully we can help them figure that out. So you are my second guest for this series that I do every Wednesday at 8 p.m. I'm doing it for 7 weeks straight, hopefully.
Okay,
So the
cool.
first question, because Cydnie, you're a copywriter, exactly is a copywriter? What does that consist of?
Okay, so it's funny because whenever people hear writer, they always think of like an author or like a journalist. But a copywriter pretty much handles everything in between. So think about like the Instagram captions for your favorite brand or like product descriptions that you see on your favorite online store. Pretty much someone has to write all of that, and that's what a copywriter does. That's me. So anything you can like think of that's not fiction or a book.
Okay.
Yeah.
So outside of the world of books and authors and stuff like that, you would take care of that.
Yeah,
So like
essentially.
what about like ghostwriting? Is that something that falls into the copywriter?
It can. So the thing is like, um, if someone wants to, a copywriter pretty much takes someone else's like ideas, vision, they bring it into life. So if somebody wanted a book or something like that, a copywriter could do that. For
Okay.
me, I focus more on like marketing content, advertising, sales, but that's definitely an arena that a copywriter could go into if they really wanted to. It just depends on the kind of person you are, the kind of creative you are, and the kind of mind you have, whether you can turn, you know, a couple of sentences here and there into a bestseller. um,
Mhm.
if you can do that, then great. But a lot of the time, it's pretty much just writing for like brands and stuff.
Okay, cool. And
Yeah.
then, so let's say you're on a project, I guess maybe you mentioned like social media captions for a brand. So you have a client. So what does a typical day for you look like, or a work week if you're dealing with a brand and you're dealing with their social media caption?
So for me, actually, one of the best parts about being a copywriter is that your days are so different. There's never a chance to get bored. Like last night when I was talking to you and I was like, yeah, I'm still working. I actually didn't go to bed until 4:30 this morning.
Oh
Um,
my gosh.
yeah, it was crazy. But then it's like some days it'll be really, really like heavy like that. And then other days it would be super chill, like 2 hours and I'm done. So typical work week is it varies, but that's one of the fun parts because everything's remote. You have so much flexibility. And then, of course, when it comes to clients, you kind of set out your own deadline and you say, okay, this project will take me a week. This project will take me 2 days. This project will take me a month. You know what I mean? And kind of organize your own time. um, if you have things like projects coming in well enough in advance.
Okay. Well, I think that's really cool because you do, so is it more freelance what you do?
So I actually work for a marketing agency. So that's like the kind of cool thing is that you can navigate into arenas. You can work freelance, you find your own clients, but I think one of the easiest ways to kind of get into being a copywriter is to go through working for an agency because they find the clients for you. Essentially, a client would come on with a specific set of needs, whether it's blog posts, social media content, email marketing, product description content, that kind of thing. They'll outline exactly what it is that they want. And then either an account manager will set out key deliverables, so estimated time for completion. They'll work with you in your schedule, send you your assignments, and then you go off and you do everything on your own. Now, if you freelance, it's a little bit more complicated just because you do have to kind of outsource your own clients. So an agency makes it a lot easier because they bring everything to you. And then you still have the flexibility. You can still opt to work when you want to in the time frames that you want to, as long as you know, meet your target deadlines. That
Hmm.
you can do whatever you want. You can like go to the grocery store in the middle of the day, go to a spa weekend with your friends. You pretty much have the flexibility to do whatever you want.
But I think that's good because I think a lot of people are looking for flexibility in their job. So the fact that you get to create your own schedule, and then I think, would you say that makes it easier to do like that whole work-life balance that people are always talking about?
You know what? It's actually it teeters the line if I'm going to be 100% honest, because the thing is you have so much flexibility, but then you also put a lot of accountability on yourself, which means that you know that you have like a certain amount of time to get stuff done, which could mean that you procrastinate a bunch and then you end up with like a ton of things to do with a short amount of time, or you're like constantly on trying to get stuff done as they come in so that you never end up in a situation where you have way too much on your plate. Or you can, you know, kind of be like me where like last night I stayed up super late so that I could get everything done that I needed to get done for this week so that I could have the next couple of days free. So it can be hard if you're not disciplined because you're at home, you know, and you're kind of on call in a sense because like, for
Mhm.
example, if a client on a Saturday needs a last minute change, you're responsible for that.
Yeah.
But then it also comes in with, you know, managing your time, but also being firm with your time, firm with your expectations and what you're actually going to do within your client writer relationship. So you can let them know, you know what, I only work between 6 to 3 or 9 to 5 or 8 to 11 on these particular days. If you do have something that you need to have done, do it within
Hmm.
that time frame. And I'm not going to be available for last minute things. Or if there are last minute things, give me like, you know, a 24-hour turnaround so that you can choose. Because it is very easy for your time to kind of get away from you because you're at
Yeah.
home and there's no clearly defined stopping point.
Yeah, so you have to be more disciplined, especially if you're creating your own schedule and your own boundaries and stuff like that. So, but I
Exactly.
think I still think it's super cool. So with copywriting and writing in general, is that something that you always wanted to do, or did you somehow discover this path some way and then you're like, okay, this is it for me?
It's funny because I saw my mom pop in here. So she'll be able to attest that I've always been writing ever since I was a kid. I used to write little stories and turn them into books and made out of construction paper. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, it was that. So it was something that I always loved to do. And then as I got older, I realized how much I loved branching out into like so many different creative avenues and bringing these, like I had so many ideas for different things. So being able to bring them to life is one of the greatest parts about being a copywriter. Um, And I like, that's my opportunity to kind of do both sides.
Mhm.
Yeah, because when I work with brands, a lot of the time they don't really have like a clear cut vision of what they want. They don't have a clearly defined brand voice. They don't really know like where they see themselves, which niche that they fit in. And part of like communicating with them is helping them to finalize like the important details and then bring their dream into fruition. So it's crazy because I had a client today actually for a clothing brand, which is super exciting because that's what I've always wanted to do, like get into like fashion and stuff. And I said, you know, what's your target demographic? What kind of brand voice are you looking to capture? And she was like, oh, you know, a range from like early 20s to 85. And I was like,
Oh,
what?
yeah. No.
What does that even mean? And she said, yeah, I'm trying to like create a generational clothing line where it's like clothes you'd want to wear, but clothes your mom would want to wear, but clothes your grandma would want to wear. So how do we do that? And so we spent like probably 2 hours today just like bouncing ideas off of each other. So it became like so much more than just writing. It became,
Mhm.
you know, creating this whole concept of like what she wanted going forward as far as like her website and her email campaigns and what she wanted for her socials and that kind of thing. And so it blossomed into something so much more than just writing things on paper.
Well, congratulations first on getting that client in fashion,
Thank
if
you.
that's what you wanted to do. So I think that's super cool. But yeah, you're doing more than just the creative writing. You're also doing branding. So you're helping her create her like her niche and then expand on that. So I think that's cool because you're helping her develop her brand at the same time. So that's super cool. And then so like I mentioned before, like I want to help people like discover what it is that they want to do and basically be introduced to different careers. So from, in your opinion, I guess like when we speak like academically, like what would somebody need if they would need anything to get a job as a copywriter, or is there maybe something they should do outside of school to prepare them for a job?
Yeah, so the fun, like there's so many different like cool little things about being a copywriter. And one of them is that you actually don't really need any formal education.
Mhm.
There are, I think there's about 4 writers on that work at the agency with me. And 3 of them didn't go, like they didn't go to college. And I'm the only
Okay.
one who went, and I studied English literature. And I was the only one who really had like a background in writing, but they didn't. The thing with copywriting is that experience is what counts. And to be honest, most clients care more about what's in your portfolio than what's on your degree. So if I was to like suggest, as far as like an academic path, I would say maybe take, if you are looking into going into university, taking either creative writing or some form of communications, at least so that way you have a foundation of how everything works as a whole, like a cohesive unit. You'll
Mhm.
have that little bit of graphic design in there. You'll have that brand management, and you'll be able to expand so much further than just writing. Um, but if you didn't want to go that route, then you can definitely just start building your portfolio. Start your own blog. Start writing, little things that matter to you that you can put together a portfolio that you can show clients. There's a really cool website. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's called Upwork, and
Mhm.
it's for
Yeah.
freelancers. And you can just sign up on there. It's a little bit hard to get started because, like, you'll have to take like a little the lower end jobs just to start building your reputation. But it's a great way to make some money and also build up your portfolio, build up experience working with clients, working on like meeting deliverables. And then when you do start branching out and trying to, you know, get clients that you really want, then you'll at least have like a solid portfolio of information that you can kind of show them and say, this is what I've done, this is what I'm working on, and this is what I want to do in the future. And, just create and build your build your portfolio, it's really more important than your resume.
Okay, so experience seems to be like the key thing within this field. So to up your experience. And then what about too, like I know with a lot of creative fields, like even the stuff I do, like in PR, like networking is a big thing. So is it the same thing for copywriters, is to network, or and is there like any like associations or like groups that people should maybe look out for to join to help them?
Um, I mean, there's different resources that you can do. Like for me, it's I'm not really like a shy person, but I am at the start. So like networking freaks me out. I don't like doing it. I would rather just like let my work speak for me. So I guess this answer into two parts. You're like me and you are scared to network. You don't really like, that's not really your thing. And it's like, you're like a fish out of water when you're trying to build connections, and seeking out clients is like scary. Go the agency route. It's a lot less involved if you don't want it to be. So if you just want to write, that's perfect. You really wouldn't have to interact with clients if you didn't want to. You would have an account manager that could. Now, if you're a little bit more like on the creative side where you do have ideas for like, you know, helping elevate a brand, then you'll be able to get more involved. But the account managers would have already fostered a relationship. Oh, I got a little note that my camera wasn't clear. Yeah, you would have already fostered those relationships, and they would have done that for you, and then you would just jump in, just all creative. But if you do kind of want to go out on your own and, you know, network, I would say the best piece of advice I got, because like finding clients is very hard, is one, look on Indeed. There's lots of companies looking for freelancers.
Mhm.
Number two, Upwork. That's like probably one of the best ways to gain experience. Three, go to co-working spaces. There are so many business professionals there that you can talk to, you who can kind of give you like guidance, and they might be looking for your services or know someone who is, who can kind of push you into that direction, and you'll build a community of people in your co-working space. Not only will you have a free place to get work done, but you'll also build this community of people who can kind of help you get, you know, out there a little bit more. But as far as like actual circles, I mean, I'm sure like if you look locally, there will be like events and stuff like writer circles at the library. But
Like
again,
specific networking events.
yeah, but I'm super like socially awkward. I wouldn't, so I've never been, so I can't tell you how it is.
But I think that's good advice, the co-working spaces, because I would have never thought about that. Like I like that wouldn't be on my list of things for like networking. I would totally like be blind to that. I would probably do more so I would try to do the events because that's like pretty much straightforward. So you feel like everybody's there for that reason. But I'm the same way as you. I'm not networking is not my thing. I'm a shy person. I like to just be in the background, but I know that it is so important in the creative field. And
Oh, is it back?
but, yeah, it is back. It froze for a little bit, but you're back.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. So my next question is, because I feel like a lot of us are doing things for the first time, like there's not always a blueprint to what we're doing or what we're trying to do. So, what do you wish someone would have told you about your career before you started that might have made things a bit easier for you?
That one, honestly, there's so many things because you make so many
Oh.
mistakes along the way.
Mhm.
So, the first one actually came from my mom, which is just know your worth. You are like, there may be a million copywriters out there, but you're the only one that's yourself. You know what I mean? And so,
Exactly.
don't let anyone talk you down when it comes to like pricing and that kind of thing. You have to just be like, you know what? I'm good at what I do. this is what I'm worth, and someone is going to be willing to pay for it. So I'll tell you like a little bit about like this nightmare experience I had when I was first starting out. Essentially, I got this client, and it was like not through an agency, which is why I'm like, that's the easiest way to go. This one was like on my own, one of my very first clients, and he wanted a book, and it was like a ghostwriting kind of situation. And I was new. I wasn't really sure, like, you know, I didn't want to like scare him off and be like, oh, I'll charge like this much or whatever. And I ended up undercharging him significantly for the amount of work that I put in. Like, I think like
Wow.
it was like 3 months worth of work, and I probably got paid like for a month. Like, it was a lot. Like, it was way more work than what he was paying was worth. But I was just so nervous that he'd be like, oh, she's like new, like she's young. I'm not gonna like pay a lot. If I didn't lowball, I would lose the client. And then after a while I realized, you know what? I'm good at my job. And once I became more confident in that, that's when the opportunities started coming out, because I was more like confident in going to get them. And I said, you know what, I'm not gonna like accept like nonsense. Not in this, you know, because it's your work, it's your time. So that one's the first one. And then the second one is diversify. A lot of times people go into like a field and they're like, oh, this is enough. But again, once you like know what you're good at, you can incorporate all of that into your field. So like for me, I'm super good at like graphics and design. And I kind of was like, oh, like I'm a copywriter, that's not going to be helpful. But that's when I started being like, no, but I'm good at this. And like when I create copy, also including a design in it, then I started getting projects which were a lot more design heavy. They were a lot more fun, and it really like transformed into a career that I love rather than just something that I liked. So yeah, if you have strengths and skills in other areas, don't be afraid to combine them, because you become an even greater asset to your client, and you stand out way more than, you know, just like the 20 other people who are like, I can write this, I can do that. You know what I mean? You're like, well, I can write and design it. So
No, but I think both points are really good, because to your first point, like that's something that I still have trouble with too, is like charging the right amount. And I think for like us, when we get into a field and we're new, we're so excited that we actually like are getting a client that we don't want to lose it. So I think we go too much above and beyond to just satisfy that client, and not realizing that we're just losing out just because we want that experience. So that's really good, that we have to know our worth. And even if we're just beginning, like we have to take into the account all the years that we spent learning and spent like owning our craft and everything like that. So that's really important. And then to your second point too, I think a lot of us are realizing that we don't have to be placed into a box. So even like for me in the field of like PR, it's not just media placement. Like we can do graphic design as well, or we could do event planning. Like there's so many different pieces that go into a field. So I agree. If you know that you're good at something, like add that into what you're doing so that it's more fulfilling.
yeah.
So I think those two are great advice that you're giving. I think people should definitely take that into account. And then also I want to know too, because a lot of people, like including me, like when I was in school, we get like confused, or we don't really know what we want to do. A lot of us too, we choose fields that are like satisfying to our parents or our grandparents, because they want us to graduate from university and all those different things, but we're doing this for them, but we're not really doing anything for us. And I find sometimes we'll get into a field and then we'll realize, oh, this is not what I want to do. So what advice can you give to someone who's maybe confused about choosing a field, or choosing I guess like a major to study in or something like that?
So this one is, I feel like if you have like the resources to try a bunch of stuff, then I would say, you know, just try something. And if you don't like it, just try something else. But
Mhm.
the reality is, for a lot of us, college is expensive. And you
Yeah.
don't have all of that time and money to waste. Bouncing back and forth between degrees. So before you start out, or if you're in university right now and you're confused, I would say just get a little notepad, write down a list of every single thing that you love. And then on the side of it, write down a list of every single thing that you think you would love in a job. Um, and highlight the things that are most important to you. So like things that you would know that if you entered a career, you would be unhappy if you didn't have.
Yeah.
And then you start going through the list of careers and seeing, like, matching them up, seeing which careers has elements of the things that you enjoy in them. So for example, if you like to create, if you like to you know, bring like visuals to life, uh, artist would be one of them. But you might find that, you know what, the instability of an artist is a deal breaker for you, and you might shift and you see like slowly that you prefer being a graphic designer, and then you end up realizing that you've taken out your love for painting and drawing and you've turned it into, you know, a career that you can go to university and study, and it's something that you'll end up loving. Or for example, you like you know, playing video games. That sounds like whatever, but if you really enjoy it, that's what makes you super happy. And you also enjoy like computers, you can go into video game design, and you just start like segmenting all of the things that you enjoy and then start matching them up with career options, and then eventually you'll narrow it down into something. Now of course that doesn't guarantee that you're going to go into and you're going to love it, because like for me, I started out thinking that I was going to get a degree in communications because my grandparents were like, oh, that's a more responsible career choice, which was crazy. But yeah, it was a more responsible career choice than going into English literature because everything was so narrow. And then I took one communications class and I was like, frig that, I'm out. And I went back to what I wanted to do originally. And you know what? You just pick what you love, and then you just kind of make your career fit that. You make your education fit that. Don't try to fit into something else, if that makes sense.
No, it definitely makes sense. So like people should really do like the research and to plan things out. So like you said, get out your pen and pad and start writing those things down and matching it up. So I think that could be good because also too, I'm a believer that you should try many different things to find out what you like. So even hearing this information might help somebody in choosing their career path. So I think that's super dope. And then we touched on this, I guess, a little bit, but like interning, like, do you feel like that's another good avenue for people that are thinking of doing this as like a full-time career? And then if they are thinking about like being an intern, what 3 tips would you give to somebody who's looking to intern to like really maximize that time?
So yes, I think it is a good idea. If you can't just dive right in, or you're a little bit more nervous and hesitant to dive in to copywriting as your actual profession, you kind of want to try it out. Definitely intern somewhere. That'll at least give you the business side of it, like the experience of working for just like someone and being held accountable rather than just like outsourcing clients on your own and then having the option to pick and choose. Because if you're like nervous or you're unsure, you'll be like, no, 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 I'll take the next one. This way you'll have to do it because
Mhm.
like that's your job essentially. So yes, definitely. I would say do that. And then as far as advice, my number one would advice, yeah, I guess my number one advice would be don't be afraid to ask for one. So I think like people have this notion that they'll go, you know, on a job board and someone will be advertising and then they'll get super
Yeah.
discouraged if they see that like the job that they want. And this applies to anyone, not just copywriting on its own. But they'll get super discouraged because there's no jobs in their field, but they have an idea of what they want to work, or where they want to work, what they want to do. And they're like, well, how do I get my foot in the door if there's nothing available? So my fiance actually, he walked, so he was like, oh yeah, like he studied kinesiology, and then
Okay.
yeah, he worked as a physio assistant up until the time that we like moved to Halifax. And then he
Mhm.
was like, oh, like I really want to get another job as a physio assistant, or no, he was a rehabilitation specialist, my bad. Because I forgot he started as a physio assistant and then switched. But anyways, he was like, I really want to get another kind of job like this, but he couldn't find any on Indeed. And so he was like, whatever, I'll just get another job somewhere else. And then one day, after he was like working somewhere else, and he was like, I hate this, I miss what I was doing before, he literally walked into a physiotherapy clinic with his resume, even though they weren't hiring. And then he was like, yeah, I'm just here because I really want to work here, blah, 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 blah. And they actually hired him the next day. Yeah, it
Wow.
was super random. Honestly, though, he has really good luck, so I wouldn't count on that happening. But it just goes to show that if you walk in and you say, this is what I want, someone might listen. And it's possible that you'll get it. So, with that being said, if you don't see any avenues available, don't be afraid to just go out on a limb and ask, because someone might be looking for, in this case, a copywriter, and they didn't even know they were. Number 2 would be expand your search. In Canada, a lot of us like to look for jobs in our areas.
Mhm.
But one of the cool things about, one, being a copywriter, and 2, with COVID, everyone switched to working remotely. If you expand your search to places like the US, even other places in Canada, your opportunities open up so much more, because just because they're not looking for a particular person in, like, for example, Halifax, they might be looking for it in Montreal or Carolina or somewhere else in the world. And when you're an independent contractor, which you would be if you're like working remotely in this type of field, you don't need a work visa because technically you're
That's true.
self-employed. So a lot of places are, you know, the US particularly loves free labor. So if you need an internship, you'll get one. But also for other jobs and stuff, that's also a possibility. And
Yeah.
then my last one is just volunteer. If there's like a cool coffee shop in your neighborhood that you'd love to do like branding for, or you'd love to do whatever for, you can always just pop in and be like, hey, like I was on your social media page and I noticed it sucked. Don't say that, but
Like, I guess just showing like how you can add value to whatever it is that you want to do for them.
yeah, exactly. And you just walk in and you say, hey, I am willing to, you know, make you like some business cards if you're into like graphics, or you're like, oh, I'm willing to revamp like your homepage with, you know, they will likely say yes, because it's something they wouldn't have to pay for. Plus, you get the extra experience. So those would be my top 3.
Important to really go after what it is that you want, and then if there isn't no opportunities to kind of create your own. So like for me, I did the same thing with public relations. Like I went and I got my diploma, but once I finished, I was just kind of like, well, what do I do now, because I wasn't finding any job and I didn't have really any hands-on experience. So I literally like researched like PR firms or agencies in Montreal, and I found a few. I emailed them all saying like, oh, can I just like intern for free just to get some experience? And I got callbacks, and then that's how I was able to get experience. So I think that's really good, like just to kind of go after and create your own opportunities. So I think that's good, like just going into a store, or like what your fiance did, and then showing up and then either doing something for them for free, or being lucky enough to actually get hired because they didn't realize that they did need somebody with those specifications or what have you. So I think that's cool. And then you mentioned too, like expanding your territory. So because of COVID, so has COVID negatively impacted you or positively? Like what's been going on because of that? Like how did you have to change in any way your business?
Um, no, that was one of the really lucky things, is that I never actually had to stop working, um, this entire time because everything was always remote. Um,
Okay.
yeah, so I started out remotely, and I was at home. The negative part was that like I had been home and now I couldn't leave home. So like
Yeah.
I was like, no, my only freedom, which was after I was done stuff, was to leave, and then I couldn't. Um, and so that really like affected my work-life balance because I was like, oh, there's nothing else to do. I'll just work like more. And then my work days just bled straight into like any other time. And then I realized that I didn't carve out time for myself. And I didn't like really focus on like doing anything in the evening time because I was like, oh, like if I watch another Netflix show, I'm gonna go crazy. I'll just work. um, so as far as like income, it actually was better for me because
Okay.
everyone shifted to remotely, which meant more clients, more things to do. But work-life balance really suffered because I didn't have any way to turn off. And I really had to get super disciplined, especially in the last few weeks, to just say like, stop, don't work anymore. Like, if it's not done today, yeah, it's just not done. And giving yourself extra time to get stuff done. So like, one of the things I brought up at like the agency that I work at, and I was like, you know what, account managers can't just tell a client that something's going to be done tomorrow without like discussing it first, because again, it goes back to like the worth thing. It's like you're so scared to lose a client that you're just sacrificing everything for them. And I was like, they already know we do good work, so where are they going? I mean,
Yeah.
you know what?
Exactly.
And a lot of clients kind of started getting on board. They were like, okay, like we really don't have much of a choice but to be like, either we sacrifice getting good work or we like just give them the day to get it together and just, you know, like have a life of their own type of thing.
Mhm.
And so after like really reinforcing that like your work-life balance is super important, things started to get a little bit easier. I mean, granted, sometimes I still have like horrible work days that I just can't like do anything about. And not horrible
Yeah,
as in
that's
like,
normal.
yeah, it's just like it's a lot of stuff that has to get done in a short amount of time because like a big sale or a big launch or a blog post needs to go out, that kind of thing. But I find that lately, it's been a lot like better. But mid COVID, it was rough because I was like, oh, I'll just work, and then I never.
Yeah, I think everybody had to adjust because even me, like being home and then working from home, and just like here we have a curfew at like 8 p.m. So I can't go outside after that. So you have to like readjust everything just to make sure that you can like make sure you go outside for some air because then you're coming back and you're doing more work, or we're stuck in here for the night. So I get that it's a lot of shifting and changing that we have to do. But I think also too, a lot of people are realizing the need to slow down. Because I feel like before people were just like, I need this now, 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 and they were just packing on more work. So I think it's getting a bit better. I know it's not like that with every job, but I think people are slowly realizing to like to set up just those boundaries so that people have that time to just like breathe.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Okay, so those were all my questions. So it wasn't that bad, was it?
No, it was a lot better than I thought. I was like, my legs
See,
stopped shaking after the first like 5 minutes.
you know, and it was good too, and it goes by super, super fast. So I just want to know if like where people could see your work, or if there's any information that you want to give out to people to follow you or anything like that.
Well, me and my sister do co-write a blog called the Champagne Series. So you guys are more than welcome to go to www.thechampagneseries.com. We have tons of like cute little blogs up there. Not cute. They're really good. It's a lifestyle blog where we talk about a
Okay.
variety of topics. Like, you know, every week if we have time. My sister, I would love to like say thank you because she's been really pulling a lot of the weight in the last like little bit because I've been just so busy with so many clients. So thank you, Abby. I don't know if she's still here, but yeah, you can
She'll
definitely
see, she'll
check.
see it after.
Yeah. You can definitely check that out. We post pretty regularly. And then most of my clients are in the States, so you probably won't see them. But if you, I posted like a little like review of like Noop's pudding. I write for them. So if you want to try some oat milk pudding, do that. And that's, yeah. There's a couple of other ones, but they're like not really young, I guess. So.
Okay. Oh, so it's here, so we IG page and then
Yes.
check out
So
the
you can
blog.
follow us. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I want to thank you so much, Cydnie, for agreeing to do this and giving us all the information about copywriting. I really enjoyed speaking with you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me. I really had fun being here.
All right. Thank you so much. And everybody that joined in, thank you so much. Next week, I will be speaking with a photographer. So
Okay.
that will be interesting. So you could join us again next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.